Okay, so in the 20 minutes on kind of the intro syllabus class, I kind of started talking about how marketing research was changing. And I gave you some examples of what I think's, quite modern, innovative systems. I talked a little bit about Walmart and how Walmart utilize huge amounts of data in order to make kind of stocking decisions, promotion decisions, and business decisions. I gave you some examples of kind of using sentiment analysis from social media data. And I talked a little bit about, for those people interested in sales, I talked about how, sales is changing and how a lot of sales processes are now controlled by what are called CRM systems. And, I gave you an example of probably the biggest CRM system, which is Salesforce.com. So now we're just going to talk a little bit more about, what marketing research is and what do kind of marketing researchers do. So I've got kind of like a little example here. I'm going to use to motivate this kind of tasks in marketing research. And this is Walmart Kids. So we have basically every year merchandising decisions for the holiday season are kind of pretty important for retailers. And every year around October, November, Walmart have to decide which toys they're going to be stocking for the holiday period. And what they generally do is they will do a consumer panel, but it'll be a really specific type of consumer panel, which involves lots and lots of kids. As a quantitative marketing researcher, this is probably my worst nightmare, just dealing with like hundreds and thousands of kids. But this is what they do, and it's been enormously successful in, getting real world customer feedback. You might have what seems like a really brilliant concept for a kid's toy, but when it comes for kids to play with it, it just doesn't quite work. So let's just have a look at the marketing research process. And I didn't want to click that one. And we kind of list like a few different things, like designing methods for collecting information, how to manage the process, analyzing the results, and then eventually communicating the findings. So I try not to, in these classes, just read just off the slide. So we're going to do it for the Walmart kind of kids example. So let's just, and usually I would do this kind of as a discussion, but we'll just do it on the whiteboard. So we like collect information. I apologize for the bad writing. So, it's very hard. How do we collect information at Walmart? It's very hard for the kids to fill in like surveys, but we could have things like, simple like, dislike for toys. Maybe something like, is this cool or not cool? We could do some observation, if we have people who are skilled, maybe skilled kind of human psychologists, they can kind of observe behavior and take notes. Are the kids laughing? Are they just like looking very bored? And we could almost, we have a lot of biometric stuff at Mississippi State. We could do some sort of a brain scan with some sort of portable brain scanner biometrics. Though, if we're dealing with kids, there could be kind of ethical considerations here. The kind of the actual bit more about the kind of process. Go back to the pen. We've got some issues here. We've got to deal with kids and parents. That's why, again, why I prefer marketing research that's based on data analysis from like supermarket scanners and social media. I don't have to deal with kids and parents. Again, ethical issues. We don't want kind of news stories. My kid was forced into slave labor at Walmart trying toys for like a 12-hour shift or something like this. Things like worrying about different ages and what's appropriate for different ages. Dealing with gender, ethnicity. And things like, safety as well. So, you don't want, if you've got a bad quality toy or somebody like a young kid eats something they shouldn't and ends up in hospital, we have to do some kind of maybe pre-marketing research and appropriability. We can analyze, now we analyze the results. And this could be lots of things, we could maybe do some statistical analysis. We could do remember, go back to I know you loved stats too, so going back, we could do a little proportion test, do more than 50% of kids like this product. We could do some kind of descriptive summary statistics. Maybe proportion for each product, have a little bar graph of proportion who like the product and things like that. And then we could maybe look at, we'll talk more about segmentation later in the class, but we could segment toys. You may have one group maybe preferred by older boys, one by maybe, females, females maybe 6 to 8 or something like that. We could look at segmenting based on play scales, based on gender, things like that. And then finally, communicate to decision makers. And I think this is one thing I mentioned last class. I talked about when I worked in industry, and I'd often do very complicated analyses, and the top bosses would want something simple. So we may want things like, and one thing Walmart produced, we may want a top 10 list of toys, which is something we can use both for product selection and to market. Okay, so we have get back to the pen. I can cut that out of the video. So we have the top 10 list. We might just have, a simple summary of like, dislike, maybe some charts, some very simple charts. And then maybe we could even base, maybe from previous experience on, we've got some kind of methodology for turning the kids' likes and dislikes for different segments into sales. We could maybe predict, sales or profit for each of the toys. Generally, when you communicate to decision makers, we're less about things like, we're less about maybe p-values of, this is greater than 50%, less than 50%. And we're more about getting into kind of sales, profit, ROI, return on investment. Okay, so that was my little Walmart example for tasks in marketing research. Now, I'm not going to do this one kind of written out, but I'll just talk a little bit about it. And I kind of, I almost did this in the introduction, that marketing research draws on lots of different backgrounds. For example, I come from a computer science and statistics background, so I love kind of crunching numbers, analyzing supermarket data, analyzing social media data. But we also have people from psychology, i.e. the Walmart example, people who are experts in child psychology, people who are experts on anthropology, maybe they want to analyze a certain youth culture. So there's a really wide variety of methods used in marketing research. And, as a marketing researcher, you're not expected to be an expert in every method. You don't have to expect to be, working for Walmart, crunching, billions of lines of data, and being also being an expert in kind of qualitative ethnography, and understanding the latest music trends by interacting with teenagers. Those are kind of quite different skill sets. But we can kind of, and I'll talk more about relating it to the 4 Ps when we do the next example. but we can relate all of these different skills to marketing problems. Okay, and I talked about how the industry is changing, how data is changing, and it's my view that marketing's kind of, in some ways, merging a little bit with IT, as marketers have to understand things like online platforms, understand how to do advertising campaigns with clicks with Google. Um, Media consumption is changing, so a lot is changing in marketing research. And I'd also say that every marketing researcher doesn't need the same skills. There's scope for people who have advanced computer skills, have advanced data skills, can understand databases. There's also scope for people who are just very good people, who can maybe work with clients, who can help train clients, can understand clients. So a lot of this is like, general business skills, being able to present. Foreign language is always useful. I wouldn't say this is a really too vague computer proficiency. I would always say that you need at least basic computer skills. You need to be able to be good at computers. You need to be strong with Excel. But there's kind of certain subsets of marketing research that require more advanced skills. But that would be what we look at when we do our practical, like first thing on Tuesday's class. Okay, so when I do videos, I try and keep them relatively short. So the next video will be looking at the 4 Ps, and I'll apply them to another actual example.